As you may know, February is Black History Month. This gives us a unique opportunity to celebrate and recognize the achievements of African Americans and their contributions to U.S. history. We at Albemarle are excited and proud to join in this celebration, and the teachers here at Albemarle have worked diligently to prepare this video for you.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is the most influential historical figure for me. His role in the civil rights movement is legendary. Dr. King's nonviolent approach, which was influenced by Gandhi and others, is what he's most known for. Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech and Letter from Birmingham Jail manifesto are world renowned. Through the efforts of Dr. King and many others, race relations in the United States have made great strides, but there's still a lot of work yet to be done.
One of my favorite quotes having to do with human rights and equality is that hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And even though Dr. King said it during the civil rights movement, I think that that statement is really exemplified by Jesse Owens, who was popular about 30 years earlier. He was an Olympic athlete, and he was in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. And at that time, it was during Hitler's regime, and he thought that having the Olympics there would prove that the Aryan race was superior. And Jesse Owens was really inspirational because he won 4 gold medals during that time and really became an American hero.
African-American poet Maya Angelou is the most inspiring person that I've ever read about. As a single parent, she wrote a book called Gather Together in My Name, the year I was born in 1974. She talked about how hard it was to be a single mom, but it didn't stop her from achieving great things. And I want to be just like her. She made history as one of America's finest poets. When I read her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, it changed my life and my idea of my role in society as a woman of color. I then realized that my destiny was to become a teacher and help children of color reach their full potential. Maya Angelou is a phenomenal woman, and I strive to be the same.
One important African American person in my life was one of my college professors. Her name was Dr. Bryce Finch over at JMU. I had her, my focus in college was African American literature and Caribbean literature, and she was one of the main teachers that I had, and I learned so much from her just as a professor, but more importantly when I became a teacher, she was the person who helped me to know that I could actually stand up in front of a class and be an effective teacher. And I went to her, I was 20-something, and I was going to be teaching seniors, and I was concerned because they weren't that much younger than I was. And I said to her that I didn't know if I could do it, and her advice to me was, how long is the class? And I told her it was 90 minutes, and she said, for 90 minutes you can know more than the students. And it just helped me tremendously. Her wise words helped me get through that first year.
I was inspired by a student of mine in a 10th grade honors class. One class I introduced a poem by Langston Hughes. I pointed out that he was a famous African-American poet, and one of my students raised her hand and asked me why I referred to him as an African-American poet. Why couldn't I just call him a famous American poet? And I really had to think about that. It really was an aha moment for me. It made me think about my perspective on teaching and labeling things. And she really helped me think a little bit differently about teaching. And I got to give her an aha moment at the end of the year when I recommended her for AP Literature, and she asked me if I was doing it because she was black, and I said, no, it's because you're smart and you better get used to it.
One of the most influential people that I can respond to, it has to be my mother and grandmother. It's because of their beliefs, their religious belief. Having a praying mama and a praying grandmama helped shape and mold me to be where I am today. The next layer that I need to tell you about is my dad. My dad was the pastor, the deacon, the educator, my best friend, the individual that held me together. In my upbringing, he gave me many lectures. 2 lectures stand out to me today to help shape and mold me. Lecture number 1, men. A true man don't make excuses. He will find a way. And lecture number 2, take the words "I can't" out of your vocabulary. You can do anything that you set your mind to. If you ask me about influential people, this is what I'm here to deliver to you. There are many layers to me, but take what I say, take it to heart, and hopefully it can be something positive that you can use in your life.
One of the African American people who has most influenced me is Chuck Lewis. Mr. Lewis was an Albemarle County native growing up in a 4-room house before he became one of the area's most notable success stories. As a child, Mr. Lewis would visit his father on the downtown mall, where his dad worked as a short-order cook. When his son wanted to visit, he had to enter that building through the back door, as he was not allowed to enter from the front. Years later, Mr. Lewis went on to buy that building, and many others, and he revamped the disheveled downtown area into a thriving residential and business district. At 15 years old, he lied about his age to enlist in the Army, desperately wanting to serve his country. And in 1967, the very year that Virginia repealed its law against mixed marriages, Mr. Lewis married his sweetheart, Kathy. She was white, and their marriage was controversial, but Mr. Lewis never had a negative word to say about his town or its inhabitants. Instead, he focused on the support he got from his family that he loved so dearly. The couple began Lewis Produce, which was renamed Kathy's Produce after his wife's untimely death. When the business began, the couple had $250, and in a very few years, they were millionaires. If you've ever shopped at the Charlottesville market, you've been witness to Mr. Lewis's life's work. Chuck Lewis, as a man of faith and fortitude, despite his meager beginnings and controversial marriage during a time of great racial inequality, went on to become one of Charlottesville's most successful residents. His legacy inspires me to pursue my dreams, to rally against society's social injustices by living a life that defies them, and to walk proudly in the midst of my neighbors.
Wilma Rudolph was one of my, she's still one of my inspirations. She overcame a lot of adversity to do something amazing. She was the 20th of 22 children, and she won 3 gold medals in the 1960 Olympics. She was the first American woman to do so, but most amazingly is she was very ill and sickly as a child, even had polio, and wore a brace until she was 9, but she worked really hard to overcome that and to become one of the fastest women in the world. In fact, the fastest woman in the world at that time. And she was also a very modest and gracious and humble person. She didn't make much of herself, but she was amazingly talented and gifted. So that's why I really enjoy her.
Tommy Smith won gold medal in a sprint. This guy's Australian, so he's not really participating in this protest. He won 2nd place, and then in 3rd place, the bronze medal was won by a guy named John Carlos. In 1968, things were very, lots of segregation, even though the Civil Rights Act had been passed, but things were still very unfair for African Americans. So they used their winning medals at the Olympics as protest. And they got in a lot of trouble for it. It was really kind of a very brave thing to do, because a lot of people said you shouldn't have done that. It made it look bad for the United States. And they were very thoughtful about the way they protested. They both wore black socks and no shoes. And that was to show support for all African Americans that lived in poverty, because for African Americans in 1968, the poverty rate was extremely high. So they wanted to show that to the world, how unfair that was. John Carlos unzipped his tracksuit purposefully to show solidarity for blue-collar workers, workers like plumbers and factory workers, workers who do a lot of work for not so much money. And he also has black beads on. And these are his words. He says, "These black beads represent the individuals that were lynched or killed, and that no one said a prayer for, that were hung and tarred. It was for those thrown off the side of the boats in the Middle Passage." The Olympic Committee said, you cannot use the Olympics for protests like that, and they actually sent them home. They were, It was considered disrespectful. The guy that made that decision said, you know, having the black power sign of holding up your fist, that you can't do that at the Olympics. He was the same guy that was in charge way back when Jesse Owens was at the Olympics. And at that Olympics, there was a lot of people doing the Heil Hitler salute, and that had been okay. So it was very ironic. A lot of people, when these two men came back, a lot of people said you shouldn't have done that. You should not have used the Olympics to protest the United States. But as time has gone on, they've become more seen more as heroes for using their victory to show support for other people that have less power. So thoughts on what they did have certainly changed.